This is a short tutorial on texture painting in Blender. We've started up Blender. Here's our old friend, the default cube, and I would like to paint something on this cube. So, the first thing I'll do, I'll toggle off this Tools menu by pressing T. I'm going to split my 3D view window by clicking in the upper right hand corner and dragging across. I'll change the type of panel this is from a 3D view to a UV or image editor. Now, first I need to take this cube and I need to flatten it out. To do that, I'm going to cut along some of these edges. I'm going to switch from object mode into edit mode. And I'd like to select edges to cut along, so I'm going to switch into edge select mode. If you can't see this, you can also access it through the shortcut key Control Tab. So now I'm ready to select edges. I'll press A to deselect the edges. I'll just start choosing edges, and right-clicking, and press Control E. I'll mark that as a seam, an edge I'm going to cut along. Same thing here. Mark as a seam, mark as a seam. And I'll keep doing that. Now, how do you know when you've cut along enough edges? Well, I'm going to try doing a preliminary unwrapping. Now, what does the surface look like if I cut along these edges and attempt to unwrap it? I'm going to press A until everything is selected, and then I'm going to access the mesh UV, and I'm going to try to unwrap. Notice this doesn't look quite right yet. I need to cut along a few more edges so this looks sensible. So I'll press A. I'll go back here. I'll spin this around. I'll select another edge. Control E. Mark it as a seam. Select this edge here. Control E. Mark it as a seam. Again, I'll press A until everything's selected. I need to update this picture over here. So once again, press U and I'll unwrap. And there we go. We have a nicely unwrapped cube. Now I have the option of painting on this cube directly, or actually trying to paint on this flattened out version. And whenever I make a change on one, you'll see it updated in the other. But before I actually start painting, what I'm going to need to do is load an image over here to paint on. So, I'll make this side a little bit larger, and I'm going to go to Image, create a new image. I'm going to make this a white image. Click on OK. Whoa, that's big. I'll zoom out a little bit. Now on the other side over here, when I'm in the user perspective, I'm going to press T to toggle the tool menu again. I'm going to change from edit mode. Let's see, I'll hit Tab to go back to object mode. Notice, depending on the mode, the tools you have available changes. I'm going to change to texture paint. And now I've got some paint style tools. I've got paint brushes, and I'm going to start painting on this object. I'll zoom in a little bit to make it a little bit easier. And I'll make the brush a little bit smaller to get some more accuracy. Make it a little bit stronger so it's a little bit darker. And maybe I'll choose a black color. And I'll just paint some silly little face on the cube. Give it some personality. So maybe I'll draw a circle over here. A circle over here. Maybe I'll give it some eyes. And notice every time I draw something on this side, something happens to the texture map. I can also work directly on the texture map if I prefer. If I go to Image and select Image Painting, notice how that's now checked. Now I can paint directly on this image. Any change I make over here will be reflected on the cube. Maybe I'll change this to a blue-purple color. And if I were to say, label these sides, this is side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice every change I make is reflected in this cube over here. That's about it, really. That's how you would easily mark something up quickly. If you want to do a better job, you probably want to use some image editing software. And to do that, well, you can actually save this image, open it up in a different program, and then load it back in when you're ready to reapply. But that's all there is to texture painting.